And we are live.
Hey everybody, hi. Welcome to Hacks Chat. I'm your host, Art Thibert. I also run this groovy little studio called Hack Shack Studios where I work out of and draw comics. And I'm a 30 plus, I want to say 35. I got to do the math at some point. A 30-year plus veteran in the comics industry, working for both Marvel, DC on titles like Ultimate Spider-Man, X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, Fantastic Four, Adventures of Superman, Batman Detective. What is it, like Arkham Knight, Batman Arkham Knight? Just a bunch of titles. Just Google, you'll see it. You'll see it. Um, hey Taylor, how are you doing?
Hi, Art. I'm doing well. Hello, everyone.
It's Taylor, everyone. Say hi in the chat. Give her a big hey tag. Hey tag. Hey, I'm actually focusing more on the show and less on drawing. So anyway, before I step on the joke here, hey Taylor, what are you working on?
Well, I don't really know how to say this, but I'm not really working on anything. What are you working on right now, Art?
um, Not Super Sons, if that's what you're thinking. Yeah, it's a sad day here at the studio. Um, yeah, I don't know quite how to say this, but I don't think I've ever really quit a title or left a company before. Um, but today I left DC Comics, and I'm very, very sad. So we walked away from Super Sons. Issue 3 is our last issue, and we finished that up. And so Taylor and I don't have anything to ink right now. I'm sure everything will change around, and we're going to reprioritize everything. And that's the main reason we backed off of the DC schedule, is so we could devote more time to where our heart is in crowdfunding and projects like Taylor, projects like
Sorry about that. My mic was muted. Projects like Black and White.
yes, I set them up. She knocks them down. Yeah, so black and white. So the main reason for cutting back on the DC obligations is so we have more time to devote to black and white. We were kind of full time on the inks for DC and part time black and white and the Indiegogo stuff and all the Comicsgate stuff. But that work is just not happening. It's coming together very slow, and Taylor and I were getting very frustrated and exhausted, kind of burning two one candle at both ends. I don't know what that saying is. Is that the saying, Taylor?
I don't know. The issue's not quite as black and white as it may seem.
And nothing is as black and white as they seem. So we were burning the candle at both ends. I think that's how you say it. And it was getting exhausting, and the black and white stuff was suffering. So we weren't able to get things done as quickly as we wanted to. And one of the other updates, Taylor, you want to give them the update about our schedules, release dates?
Absolutely. I'm excited. So, if you haven't seen yet on this channel, you should totally go on Art's channel. Don't leave this video, but when you get a chance, watch the video we uploaded before because we made a huge announcement that Black and White is going to be launching on September 11th rather than October.
Yeah, we realized that it might be a somber day, and we didn't realize that when we came up with the day. We just looked at the mechanics of when's the best day to launch, and that was within that week and within our schedule is the best day to launch. So September 11th, and I know that's maybe not a day for celebration, but um, somebody pointed out in one of the replies to the video, they said it's kind of it's kind of a bad day or a sad day, but now it gives me something to look forward to. So I'm hoping that you guys can forgive us a little bit with the timing. of the September 11th. It wasn't meant in any way to make light of that day. It's always a really sad day. We just kind of came up with it and didn't realize until after we made the video and everything. So yeah, so I hope you don't use that against us and can still get out and show support for Black and White on September 11th. It just seems weird, Taylor, if we would have just said it out loud, right? If we just would have said September 11th out loud, I think we would have realized that it might not have been a good time. I know we can change it, but within our schedule and within the optimal, like, what is it, Taylor? The what they say to when's a good time to release?
Yeah, they said that I think the optimum time is a Tuesday or a Thursday, and yeah, it was not a conscious decision on our part. We didn't really plan it that way, but like Art said, it was the day that fit best, and hopefully you guys don't hold that against us, but we are going to be launching that day, and it was not our intention. It was really weird. It's like the first time I actually didn't take notice of it being that day, which I know it's been a long time, but it feels like just yesterday.
Yeah, I know every time I flip the calendar, I see, like for September, I see that's the first date I see and I register it. This is the first time I didn't. So I think we got a little caught up. But so anyway, I hope you guys can forgive and we can move on um, and fund Black and White. One of the other things about the video, it's up on YouTube now. Like Taylor said, don't go now. Keep listening, but when you're done, it'll be a treat. Taylor put this killer video together. It is so crazy cool, and I don't know. Should we say there's a surprise to it, or should we tell them what the surprise is? What do you think, Taylor?
Um, hmm,
What does the chat say? Are there
what
people there yet?
do you guys want to know the surprise? They said all the people are saying is release as scheduled, so I guess they didn't take as much offense as we might have thought.
Okay, I know it's just kind of a soft spot still. I know it's been over a decade, but um, yeah. So what are they in favor of the surprise, or should we tell them here the exclusive?
Um,
Who?
yes, let's tell them.
Okay, so we got the great Edwin to lend his vocal talents to the video. So he reads the Black and White tagline, and it's killer. And like I said, I don't know how Taylor pulled it all together. The sound quality is amazing. The video looks really cool. So it's just a little teaser for the upcoming Indiegogo video, which Taylor and I were hammering out most of the day here, trying to figure out what should go in, what shouldn't, and all that good stuff. So do you have any insight on the video, Taylor?
Well, Winamp says, "Oh, F yeah," so I guess they approve of Edwin's voice.
Oh,
I
in a
agree.
world, in a world where law and order is often blurred to gray, justice can only be black and white. Yeah, everybody does Edwin on on the live chats and stuff. Um, you can't help but he's got such a killer voice. So
Very iconic. But I
yeah,
think you guys will I don't want to reveal too much about the video. Definitely go check out the video, what we have put up, and you'll have to wait for the next part. But I think what Art and I ironed out is going to be very cool. I think it's a good campaign video.
yeah, and I think we're going to try, and we've been talking to Christ Energetics about putting one of his musical themes to the video. So we're trying to get. We told them 1 minute, but it's going to be a little bit more than 1 minute, right, Taylor? Of
Yeah,
music.
I think it'll have to be a little bit over 1 minute. If you guys don't know who he is, which if you're kind of in this community, you probably do, but he did the Lone Star music, the Lone Star theme song specifically, I believe.
It was the one that was kind of based on like a Hanna-Barbera '90s kind of cartoon, right?
Yeah, it was really cool, I thought.
Yeah, it was awesome. So if you haven't checked that out, go to Mikey Sniffles Miller.
Aw.
I know. It was horrible. Mike S. Miller. Go to his YouTube, and I know the video's up there somewhere of the Lone Star, because it's kind of Lone Star, like 90s kind of cartoon intro. And I don't know if Christ Energetics wants to use his real name or not. So I think I'll just keep calling him that until he lets me know if I should use his real name or not. But his themes are really good. So we're talking about possibly a spy oriented kind of surf guitar, like ding 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 bam 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 bam, like some kind of spy, surf guitar thing, but maybe a little bit more contemporary for the video. So that'll play in the background. So Black and White will have its own theme music. So hopefully, I believe he's still pretty hot on doing it. So that'll be pretty cool. So we got that to look forward to with the video. He does great work. If you haven't checked him out, I'm pretty sure he's got a YouTube channel. So check out his YouTube channel and listen to his stylings, his musical stylings. Yeah, he's really good. This community is so awesome. I mean, just rallying, already Edwin and Christ Energetics to do our video is pretty amazing. So I'm really, really pleased with the way everything's coming together. I would like to get more subs because from what everybody's told me, building up your YouTube channel is essential. So if you guys know anybody, I feel like I don't want to be so much the shameless plug guy, but in these create your own things, if you don't speak up and you don't talk, then nothing gets said, because it only exists if you talk about it. So the shameless plug is get out, sub, tell a friend if they like comic books or they're a fan of 90s, Image comics, which Image or Black and White was, and anything that I've done for Marvel and DC for the past 30 years, X-Men, Superman, that stuff. Have them get out and sub, comment, ring the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. So let's build this. We're only going to be able to succeed based on, you know, you guys supporting the projects. Because Taylor and I also have other projects in line other than Black and White, but we got to get this thing funded. We got to get, you know, the, I guess, the movement going one step at a time, one footstep at a time, and then kind of build it. But we definitely have grander and bigger plans for you guys. So what else do we have, Taylor? Do we have any?
All I gotta say is, if you guys know anybody who's been a fan of any DC comics in the past 30 years, you probably know a fan of Art Thibert, so get them over here.
Get on it. Yeah. So yeah, like I said too, we changed the launch date. So September 11th. And should we get back on the DC sad vibe here, Taylor, in the studio?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, Art, what will
Yes.
you miss most about working at DC?
Um, Other than the steady money and the the stability that a steady paycheck brings, I'll miss the people. Paul, who was the editor on the book, Kaminsky, he was a great advocate for me. He stood by me, has always looked after me and the studio, making sure that we were never without work and things. So I feel really bad, one, not being able to work with that guy on a day-to-day basis. Also, Andrew, who was a cool advocate and supporter of me and this studio. So I'm going to miss those guys for a while. While we put this stuff together. I mean, I'm hoping that if the time comes, they'll have me back. But I'm kind of trying to gear this up to where maybe this becomes our regular gig because, like I said, Taylor and I have a lot of plans. I mean, animation shows and stuff. Should we go off in a tangent, Taylor, and talk about the animation show we did for what Wacky Kids Network was that?
That was for PBS.
Yeah. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Sure, why not?
Why not? Hey, why not? This is Hacks Chat, right?
Can I drop the name or
Yeah,
so we did a pitch. Was that this year, Art, or was that
I think it was earlier this year. Yeah.
seems like so long ago, but we did a pitch for a chrono mechanics related project called Chrono Kids and at PBS, and we kind of wrote it geared towards PBS, but I think we've always so I PBS is it's public and they're kind of more little kid oriented, but we kind of I think we have it in us to possibly do more of a Cartoon Network type because I think that's more of our
Our sensibilities,
sensibility.
yeah.
So we did that. That was one of them. That was the latest one.
But it was interesting because, oh my gosh, what is the word for it? Interim. A Unbeknownst to Taylor and I, we had a Chrono Mechanics fan out there, and so he became his name is Mark, and he took over the Southern California head of the station there and like of PBS. And so just out of the blue, he sent me a message through Facebook, and he was like, "Hey Art, like the Chrono Mechanics thing, is it possible for you to put together a pitch?" And I'm thinking, Chrono Mechanics is like, at best, it's like H.G. Wells meets Looney Tunes. It's kind of Simpsons, I guess, oriented as far as age group and sensibilities. So I was kind of like, absolutely not. I think I actually told him, no, it can't be done. And so he was real adamant about it, and he was like, no, 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 I think it could be done. And he threw out some ideas. So I think this was late night one night. So I don't think Taylor was here. So she came in the morning, and just like Taylor can do, she can just start. It doesn't matter what it is. When we start talking, we just can start riffing. And so we started riffing on it, and based on like Mark's notes on how we could do it. And so before we knew it, we were really invested in, I don't know, coming up with a young kids show, right?
Yeah, I think together our superpower, we're like the Wonder Twins, but together we can make a story out of anything.
And yeah, and somehow we were able to come up with a kid's vibe, and it even strangely we figured out a way to bring in like an educational aspect because that's one of the criteria for PBS. So, gosh, we did it fast, huh? It was.
It felt like within like a weekend. And yeah, that was the hardest angle for us, I think, was they said every one of their shows has to have some kind of educational value on it.
Yeah, so I think because they were time travelers, they could go to these different places, and not just different countries, but different times of their evolution. So then if you haven't seen Chrono Mechanics, we have like a little video. Well, there's a video and there's a site up, chronomechanics.com, and it'll give you a little bit of insight on Chrono Mechanics, which is also what we would like to bring to you guys later down the line after Black and White. But anyway, so when these kids go to these different timelines, it's not just where they're going, like China in the early 1800s or 1700s or whatever. It's also what the lifestyle was like back then. So then they could sample the food, the lifestyle, the clothing, the culture, and everything like that. So then it can be semi-educational, the music and all that of that time, not just region, but timeline as well. So it was, God, this is starting to sound good to me. I'm selling myself. So yeah, we came up with this idea, and then we pitched it to Mark and the PBS guys, and we got uh, a semi green light, I guess, like a dim green light. And so then what Mark started doing is pitching it to his people, and then he said early on we even had Mattel toys as a sponsor, because the cool thing about PBS is that they get these sponsorships. And so like Thomas the Tank Engine and a lot of those early, well, not early, but a lot of those kid shows end up getting sponsors from major toy companies, and Mattel is one of the biggest benefactors of those of that network. And the best part is, I don't know if there's any creator-owned guys or people that are trying to get their own properties going, but the cool thing about PBS is there's absolutely no ownership. Like most networks, they want ownership or partnering or something like that of your property, but PBS does not, because it's all, God, what is it? It's all people.
Public funded
Yeah, it's
or?
all public funded and donation oriented. So at the end of the day, Mattel and even PBS cannot claim any ownership, because it's all. I'm sure it has something to do with tax deferred for them, and the tax breaks and things that they get. So then I think Mattel does it as a major tax break, but also if they do that, then they probably get first right of the toys or the toy rights, even though those aren't there. Like they don't ask for those. But Taylor and I would be a fool not to go, hey, yeah, Mattel, you gave us a bunch of money for this video, but we're not going to grant you the rights to create like a killer Chrono Mechanics toy line. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Taylor? Would you get all uppity about it? Like, absolutely not.
Can I use profanity?
Sure, why not?
Oh, heck no. I don't want
Gosh,
those toys.
gosh darn, man. Watch your language. There are children listening. So, yeah, she's like this all the time, man. The language that comes out of that girl. Oh my goodness. Um, but yeah, what ended up happening, long story short, is Mark, our advocate, was a interim guy. So, gosh, within that year, I think he was in and out of that position. He's a great guy. He's still an advocate for us, and he's still looking out and trying to get things going with us. But as far as the PBS connection, we lost our major advocate, and so it kind of fell apart, which is kind of par for the course with a lot of this stuff as well. And that's why like comics are more of a sure thing, and funding these dreams and these projects with you guys is more solid, is more tangible for Taylor and I. And also, I don't know about you, Taylor, but comics is kind of where my heart's at.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think like as far as animation stuff, we could crank that stuff out together because we never have any shortage of ideas. And I think that's why it's easier to sell them and stuff, but comics are more the passion, where the passion lies.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And that's where I want to be. But the thing is, it's so like prohibitive, if that's the word. Because for Taylor and I to walk away from DC and to walk away from sure money, we have to make sure that these creator owned projects are funded, and that we can I just got shocked or something. I don't know what the hell that was. Um, is that laptop still working?
Yeah, a little hot.
Wow, that was weird. Um, but can you get zapped through headphones? I don't know. Um,
This might have to be a short one though, because it is getting a little hot.
is it getting hot? Um, so yeah, so getting people involved and engaging with you guys and getting this stuff funded is the utmost importance. And we made a major leap of faith today by leaving DC and Super Sons, which was going to, it was a 12 issue series, which was going to take care of us for the coming year, uh, is now, you know, in the rear view. So we're looking forward to getting these projects going and to get them funded through you guys. So what's the chat? What's going on? What's the vibe?
Well, we got Jiminy Cricket's here giving his
Hey, Jiminy.
support. He says comics are where it's at. Um, Christ Energetic says you'll make a big effort for this. It will come together.
Ooh, cool. Hey, can we use your name, Christ? Your real name, not your biblical name. Although Christ Energetics is pretty cool, and I like saying it.
John Whalen says we are Comics Gate.
Ooh, I like that. We are family. I got all my comics gate with me. That's as lyrical as I'm getting.
And Jiminy says, put it out, Art, and we'll buy it. We're just waiting at the front door, waiting for you to open it.
Oh, thank you guys so much, man. In like I said, this is kind of a somber day. I'm trying to make this like, you know, like upbeat as much as I can, but it's really, really iffy. And actually, the unsung, or one of the unsung heroes, other than Taylor taking a risk and chance with me and us, is my wife. So, you know, we should all like maybe just give a shout out, like just all type in caps, Pamela, Pamela, Pamela. And when she watches this video later tonight, she'll know that that she's loved and she has support, because, you know, she's like, well, what will we do? How will we make the mortgage? How will we do this stuff? That's how she talks, by the way. She talks like this, like very mechanical. No, she doesn't. She talks very sweet. But yeah, she's a little nervous too. So I'm really, really, really hoping that this book will fund, and that we can prove to the rest of the world, and to ourselves, that we can be independent of the Marvel and DC machine. Although I love those guys and I don't have any problem with them, but it would be nice to be able to do something independent. And like I said, it's been 25 years since, you know, we released the first black and white, and maybe 15 years since Chrono Mechanics. So I haven't really done anything independently in a long time. And I know Taylor's heart is in the indies, and so is mine. I started in the independence working for Denny Lobert at Renegade Press with Jim Valentino. So, you know, my heart is there, and we'll see if we can do this. So, what's the vibe?
The chat is full of Pamelas. It's going to be
Yes.
okay, Pamela. We got this.
Let's keep it going, Pamela. Pamela. She'll love seeing this, guys. I guarantee you. Yeah. Um,
Well, we're in it now. We're right in the
the
we're
thick of
deep
it.
in the indie fold.
We're in it to win it, as they say. Yeah. So I think what we're gonna do after this, I'm finishing up. Since I have time, I'm going to finish up my layout for issue one's black and white remastered cover. I got the bulk of it, and if you guys want to see it in print form, go to my newsletter. It's what is it? It's artbythibert.com, and sign up for the newsletter. Sometimes exclusives go there. I'm trying to figure out, like, between the newsletter and the YouTube channel, what the best way to get information. And there's also a black and white Facebook site. So I'm transitioning over to YouTube. So I'm still a fairly new YouTuber. So Taylor and I are still playing with the format and trying to figure out the best way to get new black and white content to you guys. But I'd say, as of now, wouldn't you say, Taylor, it's best to kind of just go all those places and keep checking?
Absolutely. And after we're done talking, it may take a minute, but I'm going to add all the links to this video to Art's social media and the Art by T Bear site where you can sign up for that newsletter. The thing is, we do post different things on different social media, so make sure that you are signed up to those different things, including the black and white Facebook site.
Yeah. So I know these social platforms kind of overlap, and I'm an old fart, so I'm still trying to come to terms with a lot of these things. So I think we're represented on all these platforms, and I'm trying to become more video oriented for you guys, for the YouTube fans out there. So I'm trying to think more of like videos and content like this, like the Hacks Chat, where we can get information to you guys and share the dream and dreams that both Taylor and I have. And gosh, I was going to add something else. Oh, also, if you sign up for the newsletter, if you're just a comics fan overall, we have raffles. We have a raffle right now going where it's only $5, but you can win 6 different prints. And we announced that on YouTube. We'll announce it a month from now, or roughly a month. What do you remember? This September? What was the date? And don't
Ooh,
say 11.
ooh, it was September. It was early. I think it's September 23rd.
Okay.
Um, and we should plug the sale because
Oh yeah.
there's still a few days left for those original art collectors. If you guys go on the website, um, we're having a sale on the Adventures of Super Sons pages, and you can get 10% off any of those pages by entering code Super Sale at checkout.
Yeah, so I'm sorry if this is becoming our shameless plug hacks chat, but I think we just have to get ourselves into, with maybe the Art by Thibert site and the prints that we have up to kind of compensate for the time that it's going to take us to develop Black and White and the other properties for you. So if you guys are comic book fans, there's a lot of artwork in there from the last 30 years. So there's stuff from the early 90s on up to Super Sons, which, like Taylor said, we're having the sell on. And yeah, there's going to be a limited amount of Super Sons because we left at issue 3. So what's the vibe? What's the vibe in the chat,
And
Taylor?
by the way, even just to look at, you guys can see like a lot of art's work on that site by scrolling through. Well, let's see.
Yeah, thanks, Taylor.
Jiminy Cricket says hashtag in it to win it.
I like that.
Um,
Move the
Val
needle, Comicsgate, and in it to win it.
Valand, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, says loved your old school X-Men art. And
Thank you.
John Wayland assures Pamela, you're on the right side of history, Pamela.
We talk about that all the time, like what a weird thing that is to say, but in this context, I like it. Yeah.
And let's see. Son of Platypus says the studio rocks it and will win.
Oh, thank you.
And Perth Comics says the time is ripe to go independent. Look at Cyberfrog.
Oh, believe me, I am. Oh, we gotta post this again, Taylor. The cyber buck or frog dollars.
Oh yes, we got it. Let's revive that.
Yeah, we I did a graphic um, of like a cyber frog, $100 bill. I mean, it's $100 bill, and I put a cyber frog image in there for the president in the president opening, and it's pretty funny. So I'm calling them frog bucks or cyber dollars, or I forget what the hell we were calling them. Go ahead.
I don't know, but they're hilarious and we need to repost them.
Yeah, we should post them up on Twitter. Yeah.
I'd put it as this image's thumbnail, but we already have something queued up that's cool.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about cyber dollars tomorrow, and maybe we can use that as the image. But yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, Ethan, if I haven't said it, publicly enough, I haven't met a person this generous in a long, long, long time. And usually people in the comics industry are not as generous as he is. So I hope you guys that are supporting Ethan and the rest of the guys know that he's a rarity. I've never seen somebody so generous with their success before, where he welcomes us into, the Comicsgate chats and stuff like that. So I know that these guys get a lot of, bad, like flack. People call them Nazis and womanizers or not womanizers, sexists, and
I am.
I am now. But he's not. Listen long enough. you'll see some jokes, but these guys are just, they're jokesters, so they're going to say stuff that sounds one way, but in reality, judge them based on their actions, judge them based on what they do. And most of the time when they say those things, it's just, they're just jokes. And I grew up in a time where you could make these jokes and not be crucified for them. And there's a lot of thin-skinned people out there, and that's why I'm at Comicsgate as well. That's another reason, is just, there's a lot of people that are very thin-skinned out there, and I would like us to get to a place where we can say what we feel, what we think. There's always going to be backlash, but some of the stuff that's being done now, where they shut you down in not just a debate way, like you have this intellectual, you know, like conversation where you can talk ideas and you can share ideas and maybe disagree. And the Comicsgate guys, when those guys talk, they don't always agree, but they work out their differences. And I would like to get back to like a left and right, where we can have these conversations without being so knee jerky, and without the left, the extreme left, like calling for blood. Like they're getting people fired. They're calling for blood. Uh, and all this like really finite stuff. And I don't know, when I hear like them getting guys fired and people fired, some of these people have like careers invested in their industry that are getting fired. And how do you recover from that? Most men specifically, but I'm sure there's career women the same way. Your identity as a man is so wrapped up in what you do, that if that gets taken away from you, that's a big part of your identity. So when these people are making these judgment calls and calling for blood like this, I think that they have to realize that they could be essentially destroying a person, a real person, a human being, just for the fact that they may have voted for Donald Trump or somebody that they didn't like. We got to get back to a place where it's okay. I wasn't necessarily a big, Obama supporter, but, I wrote it out, you know what I mean? And I wrote it out for 8 years. And then, we got somebody in that's kind of putting some kind of balance back. It's like there's a pushback. I wish it didn't always have to be the two extremes, but until we can find a middle ground, which I think we should work towards, we're going to have extremes. We're going to have extremes in our politics. So we're going to have extreme candidates and we're going to have extreme politics until people like us can come in there and try to bridge the gap. So that's my political message. That's my high horse.
They like it. They're calling you the voice of reason. I think it's true.
Yeah, I think we need some sanity, because I don't think the people that listen to these programs, Ethan, Mitch, Mike, John, Zach, I don't think they're like that. Those guys are filled with hate. I don't think that those guys are like they want to destroy. I think they just want to be able to exist without being crucified, without the repercussions, especially the repercussions to the extreme that they are now. I think they would all be open to some kind of debate or intellectual, discourse. Is it discourse? Conversation. I won't use big words. But we live in a society where the extreme left just calls you a name and shuts down the dialogue. You're racist, you're sexist, you're whatever, you're a Nazi, and then that's it. There's no conversation, there's no middle ground, there's no anything. And so that's what I like about where I'm at now, and talking with you guys and being part of this movement. So
And by the way, like, if you're a Nazi and someone calls you a Nazi, you're not going to have any shame. But if you're not, it's really going to hurt you.
and I think it hurts those guys. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think it bugs them. I think if you see any anger or you see passion coming from them, it's because of those things. Because they're tough on the exterior, but inside, I mean, we're all human, and it's gotta bug you on some level, you know. Um, so what's the vibe now? Are we still
Well,
chanting Pamela?
you guys should keep chanting Pamela, but Mordecai Branch wants to know, Art, will
Yes.
black and white be your magnum opus? Do you consider it your magnum opus? You have a lot of
I don't.
ideas in you.
Yeah, I would like to think that we have more in us. Um, but I don't know. I really love black and white, but I love Chrono too, and I'll probably love the next thing Taylor and I, start working on together. Um, so I'd say for the moment right now, yes, this is the magnum opus, and we're going to try to make it as huge and as big and as extravagant as we can within the confines of just two people in a room that make comic books. So yeah, that's just it's the magnum opus, right, Taylor? For right now,
Yeah, for right now it is.
it's
And
huge, it's big.
Trusty Sidekick says, and I don't know if he's referring to the SJWs, if he's referring to Comicsgate, he says, their hearts have been hardened like the pharaohs, which is so sad.
What is that song? Harden my heart. I'm gonna swallow my tears.
And
By the way, I'm not endorsing that song because I think that song is horrible. But if you grew up in the 70s or whatever, early 80s, you probably heard the heck out of that song. And I'll give an imaginary cyber dollar to anybody who can name the band that sang that "Harden My Heart" song. So go.
um,
A Marvel no
before
prize. Sorry.
before that, Perth Comic says, Archie Bear, having never read it, is there any room for gray in black and white?
Um, I think justice can only be black and white. I think they live in a gray world. So basically, the concept is they live in a gray world. So as far as Reed Blackett, aka Black, is concerned, it is a black and white world. It's a wrong and right world. He's kind of a good. He's a real strong character that has a good moral compass. That's why he couldn't be a spy anymore, because spies like he was an idealistic young guy when he got into the spy biz and thought he was doing the greater good, but then realized that he had to kill without conscience. He had to kill strangers. He had to do things that he didn't quite understand. And so once he started putting meaning to his actions, he realized he couldn't really be part of that anymore. So Reed Blackett in our story is a guy that's kind of he's got a checkered past, and he's trying to kind of he's kind of trying to find redemption in the public sector. And so then he kind of gets called back into a world of helping people, but this time he's going to do it right. He's going to do it in his way. He's going to do it in a very black and white way. If you think about Chris Evans in the Marvel movies, he's cut out of that kind of cloth. He's he's that guy that you don't have to, and you would never question his morality. But go ahead and explain the contrast where the gray area lies, Taylor.
The gray area lies. Are
Whitney.
we talking about Whitney?
Yes.
The driven, oh God, what was it? Driven, violent, and sexy Whitney.
Yeah.
Yeah, Whitney is quite literally, well, not literally, she's the yin to his yang because she is completely revenge driven, and she will commit heinous act of violence to try to right what she sees as wrong. And that's why together, I think he kind of reels her back from the edge in a way where without him, she'd probably be more of a villain.
Yeah, so she kind of represents more the middle ground or the gray area. So she represents the ends justify the means, and to Reed, they don't. So Reed still believes in due what is it? Justice,
Due
due
process.
process. Thank you. Justice, things like that. So he's not he's a vigilante, but he does have a moral code where she's a vigilante but doesn't really. So um but so the fun part about the stories later down the line that we've talked about doing is that there's going to be a little bit of like she does have a point even though she's more in the gray area. So we're going to play upon some of those, like those moral dilemmas, like is there a time that it's okay to take a life? Is there a time when due process doesn't work? Is there a time, when those things don't apply? And we're going to play with that. So I think it's an interesting kind of juxtaposition of character. But in this mini series, or the 2 issues that we're going to do through Indiegogo, we're definitely going to be saying, well, maybe I shouldn't. Well,
No, don't reveal it.
I think they already know where it's going. But anyway, I'm not going to say it. You guys can use your imagination. Yeah, I'm just so excited. I want to give you guys the whole story, but I can't.
Because Reed really has he holds law and order, not the show, to a very
Bong, 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 bong.
to a high standard. And I think Whitney is more like morality regardless of law, but it gets her into a lot of trouble because it might not actually be, it might be short-sighted, I guess.
Yeah, a little short-sighted and very finite. It's definitely um, that
Passion.
once she acts, it's done. You know what I mean? Like if you kill somebody, there's no due process. There's no a jury of your peers. It's kind of like it's done. So she's making the distinction that you're wrong and that you deserve to die. So we're going to play upon those ideas, and I think that's going to be the fun part of it, where like that's where the yin yang come in, that's where the black and the white come in, that's all that stuff. But the world itself is going to be presented in a very gray area, because I do think that we live in a very gray area world. I think morality maybe more so now than when Pamela and I came up with the Pamela came up with the original ideas and stuff like that, and the original miniseries in the 90s. It was kind of, well, it was my frustration with not necessarily gray area characters, because I don't want to seem uppity that everything has to be a moral tale, because I don't. I love those gray area stories. But after Frank Miller and Alan Moore, did their gray area stuff, with Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen, things like that, there was a lot of writers that were taking comics into a gray area place, into a place where it felt like there wasn't a heroic aspect to it anymore. There wasn't a sense of right and wrong. There was just kind of, the characters were doing things, the ends justified the means. And so it felt like they were kind of mucking up comic books and superheroes, because I think that especially if young kids are reading, just like a Batman, Superman, Spider-Man book, I think that it should be kind of a clear cut, or a clearer cut right and wrong, at least for the majority of the time, so that they can kind of understand that, like good guys conquer. Because also this is a wish fulfillment story where in real life, yeah, the gray areas do exist. The good guy doesn't always win. But in comic books, they should always win. They should always triumph. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy for them, but it is going to mean that, the ends will be that, the villain goes and pays the price for it. Yeah.
Perth wants to know, is Whitney based on Pamela or Pamela's creation? Be careful.
That's why I'm laughing. In the 90s, we actually were signed with William Morris. It is William Morris, not Philip Morris. Philip Morris, the tobacco company. Yeah, so it's not those guys. It's not those guys that are killing, the youth of America with their toxic, cigarettes. No, it's the Hollywood agency, and they represent writers, artists, actors, properties and things like that. So we were fortunate enough to actually sign with a licensor and an agent. And the funny story is, it went to film the pitch that Pamela and I put together went to Film Rome, and I'm trying to remember this. And the lady was the head of Film Rome and animation, and The Simpsons was just taking off. So she passed on it, but her husband was oh gosh, it's been such a long time. I can't remember his name now. He's probably passed on because he was an older gentleman there, and he just had a triple bypass when we signed with him. So he wasn't in the best of health at the time. But he had an animation company, and he was a licensor, and he was the first guy to actually come in and license Star Wars. So this was before Lucas got the rights back. So 20th Century Fox early on didn't know what the hell to do with Star Wars. So they were giving licenses and granting licensing to anybody. Not that this guy didn't deserve the license, but if you remember early on, if you're an old guy like me, the early stuff before it got really cool was like the lightsaber that was just like the extendable like cone thing on a flashlight. It seems so archaic now. Toys have gotten a lot better, but yeah, he did those. Licensed the hell out of the Hildebrandt poster, the iron-on transfers. I don't know if you guys remember
Oh,
in the late
yeah.
70s, there were actually T-shirt kiosks in the mall that would do iron-on transfers for your T-shirt. So you got to pick out your shirt, and then they would put like whatever pattern. I guess it's kind of like tattoos these days, where you can have like a tattoo parlor and get the tattoo put on. You would pick out your, um, your different saying, making bacon, and and have the two pigs, doing it doggy style for your T-shirt, or God, I'm trying to think of some. Keep on trucking.
Are we talking temp tattoos?
No, well, you know how like tattoo places you could just go in and you can get like you can pick out the artwork and then have it put on your arm. This was kind of like you could pick out the artwork and put it on your T-shirt. So I'm,
Uh,
I'm making the connection that way. Because I think now you actually don't put it on T-shirt as much as you put it on your body. But anyway, it was a popular thing that they had the Star Wars, artwork that you could have put on your T-shirt and stuff like that. So he did that. Um, I know if I talk long enough, I'll remember his name. Stan Blum. Stan Blum is the guy's name. So anyways, we signed on with him. Long story short, we were pitching, and a lot of, because it would be Pamela and I and Stan pitching. So um, a lot of the guys, I guess, just based on Pamela's temperament and my temperament, they were going, "Is Reed Blackett you, Art? And is Pamela, Whitney Sung?" And so we just went along with it. So I think like Pamela and I's dynamic isn't that extreme. I'm not that much of a goody goody, and she's not like gonna slit some throats and stuff like that. But I would say probably there's a little bit of that involved. Like I guess I would be the good cop and she'd be the bad cop. So in some of our dealings in the past, I let her go and tear the guy a new one and tear them down. And then I kind of swoop in as the good cop saying, "Hey, maybe we could solve it this way." But already, they're on the ropes because, Pamela brought them, basically humbled them, got them off their high horse. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. So to answer your question, yeah, there's a little bit of that in there.
influence. Let's see. Lots of people wishing you well, looking forward to the Indiegogo. Let's see. Oh, Jiminy Cricket says this is back when you were talking about the morality, that comics are focused more on the gritty than the idealistic these days.
Yeah, and I think comics used to be, they're kind of a wish fulfillment, because it's not like this is what really happens. This is what you'd like to happen. You know what I mean? You'd like that Spider-Man would swoop up and take care of the guy that, is robbing banks, or, stealing purses from old ladies, or whatever the heck, the morality play is.
Except the one that got Uncle Ben.
Yeah. That son of a bitch.
See, that's how comics are now. It's just all that.
Yeah. Because now Spider-Man would go and just either beat that guy senseless or just kill him. Eye for an eye, bitch. Pardon my French.
Can you imagine Tom Holland saying that right now?
Eye for an eye. This is for Uncle Ben. He just smashes the guy with his super punch.
Rest in
Stay
peace, Uncle Ben.
down. That's his tagline. Stay down.
Sounds like Ben Affleck's Batman.
Stay down. Did anybody think it was weird, tangent, but that where Ben Affleck was like working out, like in what was that Superman Batman? He's working out to fight Superman, which is pointless, but he's also like this high tech guy, and he's pushing tires around and pulling chains and
CrossFit.
stuff. Like, yeah, CrossFit. Like, what the hell, man? You're a billionaire
He has to get strong enough to fight Superman.
by flipping tires over. Like you'd think like there would be some high tech like way that he's working out. I remember in the day, I don't know if you remember this, Taylor, but it's an interview with Bruce Lee, and he had those like as he's doing the interview, he has like these electrodes that are attached to his muscles, and they're zapping his muscles because it's kind of like you can work out that way, like electric impulse hits your muscle. So while he's doing this interview or whatever it is, I can't remember. You see his like abs like they're flexing.
My friend's mom had one of those, and I think I told this story, but when I was in junior high, we actually put it on my friend's face. It was weird.
Oh yeah, that would be weird. Yeah, and mean and cruel.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it now. I think she would though if she had like a car battery here and like some kind of electrodes. I'm not saying that it's a car battery. I don't know how the hell. Like that seems like it might be too much power. Just burn your muscle. Um but yeah, is there anything else interesting? Should we kind of start winding down or
We should probably call it soon. I think people need a reminder again about the Indiegogo before we do call it because people are asking when it drops.
okay, go for it.
So the Indiegogo drops September 11th. And if you go to this channel, don't leave yet, we're not done. But if you go to this channel, you'll see the latest video, which is a little teaser to it. And also, you will see Art doing a little bit of his process doing an Adam Warlock commission. You should totally watch it.
Yeah, and like I said, we're going to be posting a video after this of me just kind of wrapping up my black and white cover sketch. So we'll be posting that. And the reason we're not gonna do it live is because I think with the live camera feed, Taylor's more technical than I am.
Yeah, the resolution just isn't that great, and we want you guys to be able to see that cover because we tried to show, but the resolution was pretty bad, and you kind of couldn't really see it in detail.
Yeah, it's a little difficult. So just as a little nod, so you guys can see it in better detail. And so the next couple of days, Taylor and I are going to be putting the video together for the Indiegogo and trying to get that cover done. So thanks, guys, as always. And Pamela, let's get a rally of Pamelas before we call it a day. And thank you so much, man. That you've made me feel a lot better about the decision, and I hope Taylor feels a little bit better too, because she's taking a big chance here too. So thanks again, Pamela. My fist is in the air, and let's do this. So thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and Pamela.